Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. It's the OGs tonight. It's going to be a fun one, I will say. So, Rick, right off the top, is it anybody's birthday?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm sure it's somebody's birthday.
Oh, yeah,
but,
I'm sure there were people born today.
Yeah, someone was born today, but not anyone that I can think of.
Okay. No. Well, moving right along then.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. Yes, today, we're recording Friday. It is my birthday. And it's funny that people thought I was way younger until I told them how old I was on the internet today. So people, if you listen to the show, I'm not kidding when I tell you that I'm old.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple people say, "You're really not that." Yeah, I'm really that old. I was born in '79, and that's whenever that's when you get people. They're like, "You're born in the '70s."
As soon as it's like 70, yeah.
Yeah.
So now young people think if you're born in a year that starts with 19, you're old. So
yeah.
And I mean, they're not wrong.
That is true. I mean, technically, we were 1900s. I mean, that's
born in the late 1900s.
Yeah, born 1900s, went to school in the late 1900s. That's crazy. That's nuts when you think about it, because learning about in school what happened in the 1700s, like now, like a millennial, well, you're a millennial, the year 2000 could be like, oh, you went to school in the 1900s. Like, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's bad. We're very
bad.
Old,
it's
so
just funny.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Not very old. Not very old. Speaking of wrestling being old, and being old and watching wrestling, I think I was explaining to somebody the other day how I got into wrestling, and it was like I said, through my dad and being a kid, but being alive during like Hulkamania was unbelievable. Like, just being a fan in that time was insane.
We were lucky to be like old enough to appreciate like the two times in history, I think, that wrestling was mainstream accepted.
Yeah.
Like the Hulkamania time and then Austin, where like if you said you watched wrestling in either of those periods, you weren't a weirdo. People didn't be like, "Oh, wrestling, why are you watching that?" It was just like, "Oh, everybody watched it."
It's true.
Like 30 million people watched Saturday Night's Main Event or something.
That's insane. It kind of looks like we're headed possibly. I shouldn't say we definitely headed. Looks like we're possibly headed in that direction again.
It is a good time to be a wrestling fan for sure.
Yeah. You sent. I didn't get to this week, but I agreed with the title, and it was that it is more like WWE circa 2018. Its comparisons to late 90s WCW, and I agree with that, because it's a making machine.
Yeah, it was a video from Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics, and basically everyone compares AEW to WCW, both rightly and wrongly, like both positively and negatively. I mean, like they're on. It makes sense. I mean, they're a competitor to WWE. They are on TBS and TNT. I get like Tony Schiavone's there. I get why you would compare it to WCW, but his point was basically WWE in 2018 is a lot more similar to AEW now than the end of WCW was, because the end of WCW, like, it was losing money, it was getting kicked off TV, it was like creatively terrible, and whereas his argument was WWE in 2018 wasn't at its creative peak. It had been better before, and it has been better since. Like WWE in 2018 was actually pretty bad.
Absolutely.
But
it was making money.
It was making a bunch of money. It was making new TV deals. It was moving from the network, which in the video they say the network had like 1 or 2 million subscribers, like the actual WWE network at one point. At its best, it was like 2 million people or something. And it moved all the shows to Peacock, which has 30 million or 40 million subscribers or something, right? Like, yes, they're not all watching WWE, but it gave them an audience that it wouldn't have had before. And basically his argument was that can stave off creative bad times, because maybe say you have a possible audience of 5 million people and your show is not that good, so out of those 5 million, half of them stop watching, and now you're down to 2.5 million who may watch your show. But suddenly, if you're available to 40 million people and half of them stop watching, you're being watched by 20 million people. So like that's better. And you don't have to be, your show doesn't have to be better for it to be more successful.
That's a great point. I never thought of that.
And then he compared that with AEW going to Max, because I don't know how many subscribers Max has, but it's a lot. And, you know, cable's kind of dying. People aren't watching regular television anymore. But like Max is successful. Lots of people have Max. So like if you're a Max subscriber, you might check it out just because it's on there. So
but that's what I was just going to say. Like that right there, literally everybody that isn't a fan instantly becomes a potential fan. Because if it like, oh, I used to watch wrestling back in the day, or if there is like the screen grab is of like Jericho or Taz or like someone that they recognize, even though it's AEW, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to click on that. And then boom, you have maybe not a brand new, maybe not a fan right off the bat, but you've got somebody's attention at least. And that's very,
if the old stuff is on there. I mean, if you put, you know, Sting on a poster, on a screenshot, on a poster, not like whatever they call them, not posters, but you know what I mean.
I can't think of it either. Thumbnail. That's what it's
called. There you go. If you have one with Sting on it, someone flipping around might be like, oh, I know Sting. Oh, that's his last match. Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll watch it. And then maybe you watch more shows. Like it's the potential to draw in an audience exists. Whereas like people don't flip channels anymore. This isn't the 90s where you go, what's on TV? And you start and you flip through and you see a show that you like and you stop, like, you know what you're going to watch.
Yeah. Wow. That's so weird that's dead. Wow.
Yeah. Because like insane. Before you would put something on TV and you'd be like, I remember Matt Groening that created The Simpsons said he made them yellow so that if people were flipping channels, that would stand out.
Oh, like the actual Simpsons colors. Being yellow.
The Simpsons like he made it purposely. They made them yellow and bright colors. So if you're flipping around, you're like, what is this show? And then you watch it.
It's genius.
So that doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, maybe, you know, or even you hear something, you have a friend who watches wrestling and is like, oh, did you hear this happened last night? You're not going to pay $50 to watch that pay-per-view.
Right.
But if you have Max and it's on Max,
right.
Maybe you will. Maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, my friend said this was good. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. Or even if they like start to archive them, like, you know, maybe at first you're not watching the pay-per-views live and spending the extra money, you know, you're like 2 months behind, say, you know what I mean? And then like, you know, all of a sudden you're 1 month behind, and then you're like, well, I got to watch it live now, you know, like
you hear something. Oh, you know, Bryan Danielson won the title, or Bryan Danielson retired. I have to see. Okay. I'll watch that one because I like him. And then, they had a big show that, you know, 70,000 people were at. Okay. I'll watch that one. And then, the barrier to watching it is a lot lower when it's on Max. And that was the comparison to WWE in 2018. Like, yes, it wasn't creatively good.
Right.
It wasn't at its peak, you know, in terms of attendance. You know how people now post, you know, photos from an AEW show, and it's like half the arena's empty, which it is. Like, the attendance isn't great. Like, realistically, it's not. But WWE in 2018 was the same way. I remember seeing people being like, half the arena's empty. They put everyone on one side just to get it to look nice on TV, like the same thing AEW does. But WWE made more money then than they ever have until now, where they're making even more. Like, so there's potential there for it to do well. And AEW now, I think it was Arn Anderson a couple of days ago, they asked him, what would you who would you say would be the star of, if a hypothetical Who Killed AEW series, you know, that series Who Killed WCW,
right? And
Arn Anderson was like, well, nobody, because I don't think it's going anywhere, because not only is Tony Khan rich and has a ton of money, but now it's going to be profitable. Like, over the next couple of years, they're going to make money just off their TV deal, like WWE does. WWE could sell 0 pay-per-views and they would make money off. They could sell 0 tickets, 0 pay-per-views, 0 merchandise, and they're making money because they make so much off TV. And AEW can be at that point where, ticket sales, obviously you want people in the building.
Totally. But it's not like
they can make money without it now. So that's great.
That's wild. Awesome though.
Yeah.
Now that moving along, we had some things happen on Dynamite on Wednesday.
Yeah. What did you think of Dynamite this week?
To quote old school Rick, it was a storyline driven show, and I did enjoy it. I did notice though. I think this was the first time that it was definitely like the matches were backloaded. Like I think the first hour literally only had one match, and I was like, "Uh-oh, I hope we're not going down a line of you know, a 2-hour show and there's two matches." And
yeah, I think we only had the Shelton Benjamin Sammy match, right? That was the only match in the first
in the first
show, yeah.
Yeah,
that was a good match. But...
oh yeah, it was a great match. And then like the second hour started, and then it picked up. Like, I mean, the show had momentum, don't get me wrong, but it had like different momentum because every promo was fire.
Yeah. And I mean, there were squashes on this show. Like House of Black had basically a squash match.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like you use squashes once in a while. That's like, I'm not against it. I thought it was a good show. Like I liked it's a show that you don't remember really well.
Yeah.
Once it's over. But I think in like a couple months, this stuff's going to matter. Like
they planted some seeds, definitely planted some seeds.
The angles that they built and the storylines that they built will matter more in the future than they do right now. Yeah. And that's fine. Like I like this period of time for AEW because I've mentioned a couple times now, there's between like July and October, there was so many things happening with AEW. Like there was anniversary shows and Blood and Guts and All In and All Out, and Bryan Danielson won a belt and then Bryan Danielson retired, and like there was just there was so much happening that it's kind of nice to be like, yeah, nothing really happened on this show, and that's fine. Like it's fine. And it was good. Like I was entertained. I was not upset. I mean, I was upset once, but we're not going to talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was a good show.
We have Hangman versus the whole Bang Bang Gang, which I think is incredible. It's literally one man versus a faction. That being said, the man that burned down another man's house isn't the crazy guy in the situation. Juice is still the craziest man in the situation.
Well, speaking of crazy, did Colton Gunn just go flying at nobody?
Yeah.
He did, right? Hangman wasn't even close.
No, he jumped like 47 feet. if you look where he took off from to where he landed,
Hangman was like off where like the desk is, and Colton just went flying.
Like when I saw that, I was like, oh man, that sucked. But like it was almost like one of the, like, again, we're talking about The Simpsons, almost like Colton's like just going like, hey, and like just like flew through the background real quick, and then Hangman like had to run over and like act like nothing happened. But it was like I could just see like something like that happen on The Simpsons. I don't know.
When he did that, my first thought was, oh, Hangman might be on the ground in that area he jumped at, and I was like, nope, not even close. Like, he left like a solid 30 seconds earlier.
That being said, they covered it very well.
Yeah, and if anyone could do it, it's the Big Man Gang, because they're kind of silly to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and
so it works. Like it wasn't like if it was like Swerve and Hangman, you'd be like, oh, this is supposed to be like a blood feud, and that was silly. That took you out of it. But like the Guns and Juice are kind of funny to begin with.
And like they'll have a promo, and like Austin Gunn will be like, dude, like, do you have eyes? Like, there was no one there. Like,
where are you
sorry. Going? Yeah, like, oh, sorry, I missed him. Like
I was just so excited. Yeah.
But this feud is all of a sudden. Well, I mean, I was stoked at the beginning, but now, like, excuse the pun, I'm all in. Like, I think it's going to be insane.
Yeah, I think Jay White and Hangman are both obviously super talented, and they have a chemistry with each other that really works. And and I think the Bang Bang Gang can work as faces. They've been heels this whole time, but like they're funny and people like them, so I think they could work.
Yeah, and just it's almost like we always talk about with Nyla. Like, just let them be faces now. Like, I mean, you don't have to like give them a parade or anything, but like, don't like part of the show let them come out and be funny, and then at the end be like, hey, we just kicked a bunch of puppies. Like, come on. Like,
yeah, they don't have. They could be like just kind of like immature jerks. Like, they don't have to be. Yeah, they don't have to be serious. They don't have to, like, at the end of it, like bludgeon someone with a pipe. Just feel like, just let them be who they are. Like Jay White can be kind of serious, and he works as kind of serious.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, just like let them be silly. Like Juice Robinson is just silly. Just let him be silly.
Yeah, 100%. Now, this is a controversial take because some people don't think that Jay needs this. But do you think this is the elevation that that Jay needs to get to the main event? Like a nice feud with Hangman.
A feud with Hangman would help because Hangman's obviously a main event guy.
Right.
And like that's not to say Jay White isn't main event capable, but he hasn't been in the main event in AEW. Like he was in that, even when he was in the main event against MJF, it didn't feel like the main event, if that makes sense.
That's why I said it's controversial, because I know people feel that he should be there from day one, but
yeah, he's definitely capable of it. He's done it in New Japan, like
100%.
Yeah, I want him there, so hopefully
for sure. Yeah, but I mean, I think working a program with Hangman is just going to be like, by spring, Jay White's going to be in a different light than we're seeing him now.
I agree, for sure.
So how do you think this is going to go? Do you think Hangman's going to have to like run the gamut and go through like the whole thing, or like the whole Bang Bang Gang, or do you think they're just going to have Hangman and
I hope Jay they just do Hangman and Jay White, because I'm kind of bored with the you have to go through our whole stable thing.
True.
It's happened a million times.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happens more with heels, and if they're not going to be the heels, then maybe that's not the right way to go. But I don't know how they're going to involve the Bang. It is hard because usually the side with more numbers is the heels, right? They get to outnumber people, they get to sneak attack people. So even I think Tony Schiavone mentioned it was like 1-on-3, but Hangman's the bad guy, but he's the one fighting off a 1-on-3. So it's a little odd to do it that way, but I think it'll work. I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the Bang. Maybe Hangman takes them out, like he already took out Austin Gunn. Maybe he takes them out one by one.
One by one.
Yeah, like not in matches, just like outside of the ring, like backstage or something. Maybe he does that. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, that's a whole new angle. I'm digging that. When
maybe have him be crazier as each one goes on. Like he gets the first one, he's just like, I had to do this to get the match, and then by the time he takes out, Juice, he's just like he's crazy about it. Like he already beat him up, and he goes extra. Like he just goes farther than he needs to. Just because Hangman can go crazier, I think. He's been pretty crazy, but I think he can go crazier.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah.
Hangman's great. Like I've said before, I love him as like an actor. He does a great job portraying a character. So I'm excited.
Yeah, he's one of the few that, I mean, he's not Danielson level of like well-rounded, but he's like close. Like he's a very well-rounded, he can do the sit-down interview, he can do the promo, he can do the ring. He can get it done.
He can make you hate him. He can make you care about him.
Yeah.
He can make you like feel like you're on his side, or you can make you feel like you want him to lose. Like he's good at all that.
And his angry Hangman is the greatest expression.
With like the eyes bugging out.
Yeah, like when he was just laying on the ground after he attacked Christian. That face was, I mean, psychotic but awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's very fun. Well, speaking of fun. Shelton Benjamin and the Hurt Syndicate. I almost always say the other name.
Yeah.
What are you thinking so far of, they're about 3 weeks or a month in?
I like them. I think they're doing great.
I think it's awesome.
I think, did you hear Dave Meltzer? Dave Meltzer has a thing against the Hurt Syndicate guys. He does. Like, I don't know why, but he's been trashing the hiring of Bobby Lashley. He's been trashing the hiring of Shelton Benjamin. He's been trashing it. Like for some reason he hates them. It may be because MVP got in a fight with Jericho. Not to say that Jericho and Meltzer are close friends and that Jericho is his source, and that's why Jericho always gets praise in his newsletter. That's not what I'm saying. But anyway, his argument was, they brought in Shelton and he's going over all these AEW long-term guys, and it's bad for the company to have an outsider come in, not even a main event guy, like a mid-card guy come in and beat up all your guys, which I disagree with.
I mean, I disagree with it too, because first off, I don't think Shelton Benjamin's a mid-card guy.
Yeah. And it's not like he's walking in beating like the world champion. He's beating Sammy Guevara, who's like a name, but he's not.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like, yes, he's an original. He was on the very first episode, but like, okay, he was a TNT champion at one time. Again, no disrespect to Sammy. I love Sammy, but like,
but it's not like he's going in and taking out Kenny Omega or Hangman or something, right? Like, it's yeah.
Like, I love them. I love this angle. I like how, Joe Random cuts a promo and MVP shows up with his card.
Yeah,
like,
MVP's doing great. Like, his character's really cool.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, like, Shelton Benjamin and MVP are like, they took the ball and they're running with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they came in and were given free reign, or if they were like, hey, this is the idea that we have, and Tony Khan was like, run with it. But whoever's idea or the lack of idea, however this got to TV, it's amazing. And my only question is, I want to know where Lashley is and how he.
I think he shows up. It's next week. It's Swerve and Shelton, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, he'll be the guy in the costume.
Yeah. Oh, in a costume. That would be really cool. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Remember when Hangman was Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
That was so fun. I love that.
If they put like Bobby Lashley in like I don't know, like
a Druid costume or or something, or that'd be cool.
And then they just that would be.
Then they could have him standing there all night, like in the crowd. He's there all night wearing like this like giant mask, like he's like the Scream Mask guy or something. And then that'd be fun.
Yeah, because I mean, you could just give him a pair of boots.
You can cover your whole body. And that's something that covers his whole body, right?
Yeah.
So you could do that.
He would just be a big guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
That is a great idea. I would love that.
Oh man.
And that's the other thing that I get. I mean, I kind of get the point that these guys are new and you don't want to just bring in a new guy and immediately push him to the top, right? I get it. I kind of get it, right? But AEW's job is to put on the best TV shows they can put on. And It reminds me of when people were just like, when Danielson and Punk and Adam Cole showed up and they're like, yeah, but you're not, showing Dark Order or Angelico enough. And I'm like, yeah, but now they have Bryan Danielson. Sorry, but he gets to be on TV more. That's how it works. Like, the point is to put on the best show you can put on.
And even those guys would be like, no, he's like 3,000 times better than us. Like, we don't need to be on TV. Like,
we're good. I'm not saying Shelton Benjamin is Bryan Danielson, but like, he's a big name. He's a long running name. Like we were saying.
I was gonna say, and he's a Ring of Honor guy.
He's been in wrestling for like 20 years.
Right.
And he's can still go in the ring. He's not like old and broken down. He looks great. He's having great matches. And they're clearly building him up to lose to Swerve. Like, that's what's happening. He's going to go over a bunch of guys, look really great, and then Swerve's going to beat him and therefore look even better. Like, that's what's happening. And that's kind of basic wrestling psychology, isn't it? Like, you bring in a guy, you build him up, then you have your big face beat him. Like, isn't that how wrestling's worked for 50 years?
Ever?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's great. And I want Bobby Lashley to be in some silly costume at ringside. That would be incredible.
And well, that's what I was just going to say. And then if you throw the curveball in with Lashley, you even could have Swerve win via disqualification.
Yeah.
And I almost said Lashley, excuse me. And Benjamin doesn't, not that he would look, he could be beat by Swerve. It doesn't matter. But you could have something like that. And then the fans aren't satisfied. Then there's a new wrinkle in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley. Oh.
So who do you think joins? I mean, it's obviously Lashley's going to show up, but he's given his card to like 5 or 6 different people. Yeah. Who do you think takes his offer?
I think Anthony Bowens does, personally.
That would be cool because, like we said a couple weeks ago, Max Caster, I don't know. I'm not feeling Max Caster right now. The raps have been he can't shut up on Twitter, which is like just stop, dude. Like,
that's what I was just gonna say. Like, it's not him in the ring.
Yeah.
It's him every time he opens his mouth. I feel like I get nervous, like he's gonna lose his job. Like, I get you have some carte blanche to be a little edgy, but
and I guess that's his character. His character is edgy. Like, I get that, but
yeah, like it's And again, I mean, I'm always pushing the envelope. Like, you know, to this day, I'll do the opposite of what my mother tells me. I'm 45 years old. Like, I get it, but he doesn't push the envelope. He purposely crosses the line, and it's just old hat. Like, it's like seeing a little kid swear. Like the first time they do it, it's hilarious, but eventually it becomes annoying. Like,
yeah, the fact that he does it all the time is the problem.
Right.
You have to push the envelope occasionally, and then it still has an impact. Whereas if you're just every single time you're like saying something quote unquote offensive, like I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's like the kid that, you know, that's in your high school class, like the first week of school, he's hilarious. And then it's like, oh, it's April. And you told that joke 43 times. Nobody cares anymore, dude. Like,
yeah, I can see them doing that. I can see Anthony Bowens joining. That would be cool. I really hope Mercedes joins. I don't know if she will, but I think
that would be.
I think I want her to be in a group, because since she's been with Camille, she's been better. Like she is obviously a great wrestler, but she had, like, for her to be the CEO of something, she needs to have people around her.
That is true. Like, technically, what is she the CEO of right now?
Right, herself. Like, yeah,
right.
That's great.
Like, yeah. I'm also the CEO of me.
But yeah, her with Camille's been good. So like, add more people. I wanted her to join the Elite before, and that kind of fell apart, the EVP thing. So have her join the Hurt Syndicate. That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
And then they could be in the women's division and the men's division, which would be fun.
Yeah.
And MVP can cut promos. Like, not that she's bad at promos, but she's not outstanding at promos. MVP can cut promos for everybody. Like, he's killer at it. So.
Yeah. I mean, Leo Rush is the wild card here. That you've kept bringing him up. Excuse me. This beer's talking back. You kept bringing him up because he was Lashley's hype man.
Yeah, before MVP was, Leo Rush was. I kind of hope Leo Rush comes back into this somehow, either with them or against them.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. I hope it's against them, and I hope it's against MVP. And he was like, dude, I did that already.
Yeah, like, that'd be fun.
You know, like, remember, like, where were you, dude? Like, been there, done that. Like,
yeah. So what do you do with Bobby Lashley? Because he's obviously a main guy. Like, he looks incredible. He's a former world champion. He's a former, like, TNA world champion. I think he won titles at MMA. Like, he's as legit is. What do you do with him? You can't have him, like, be a mid card guy.
No, I've already thought of this. You give him the Jake Hager treatment, and not the funny hat. I mean, that would be hilarious if they gave him a different colored hat, but no, like, I like blue hats. Like, and then him and Jake Hager just fight over it. No, hilarious. But remember when Hager came in and, like, Jim Ross would call his matches. They would say, oh, he's training for MMA. Oh, he has this fight coming up. Like, they legitimized him being a badass, but also let you know that he could lose.
Right.
You know, like, MMA is a crapshoot, blah, 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 blah. Bobby Lashley having all that. Yes, you come in, you tell everybody he's a world champion. He's this, he's that. But and again, this is in my head, and I have Jim Ross doing this, but anybody can say it. I hope they say, like, I don't like to not take a dig at him, but always just be like, he never crossed the precipice. Like, he's been to the top, but he could never just go that extra inch.
Yeah.
And I hope they build him as that, like, not that he failed, like, again, like, because, you know, I want them to build up all the former championships he's won, but, like, he's never been, quote unquote, a star.
Yeah, he hasn't been, like, the main guy in the company.
Yeah, like, I want him to at least be presented with, you can have that now.
Yeah.
Or here. Yeah, that's what I should say.
I also think that he shouldn't. Like, I don't think he should go in and win the world title. Right? I think
Agreed.
Not right away.
Agreed.
But I think that they could do, and I mean, this is going to be a bad comparison because he's a horrible person as far as we can tell. But I want him to be kind of like the Brock Lesnar of AEW. How WWE presented Brock Lesnar, where, like, he only wrestled once in a while. He wasn't wrestling every week.
Yeah.
But, like, he wrestled, you know, once a month, once every 2 months. And then when he did, half the time he destroyed somebody. And, like, some were competitive matches, but half the, like, I want him to be like just
a force.
Like a force. Like he's not even there necessarily to win the title. He just wants to impose his will on people. He just wants to
awesome.
You're right, show that he can be the main star in a company, and he doesn't even need the belt to do that. He just needs to wreck people.
Yeah, good call.
That would be cool.
That would be super cool.
And don't have him wrestle too much, because if you have him wrestle all the time, first of all, AEW is bad at booking big guys, so I'm wary of how that's going to go.
Yes, agreed.
But also he has kind of this, he's huge and he is physically impressive. He's more muscles than I could ever think of even potentially having.
Agreed.
So he looks special when he shows up. He's a big, massive guy who looks like he could destroy you. So yeah, don't have him wrestle too much, because that kind of wrecks that if he's there every week having a random match with random people. Have him only show up. I'm be there all the time, in the background with Shelton Benjamin and MVP.
Oh yeah, have him on the shows for sure. But yeah, he only wrestles
on pay-per-views or something, right? That's it.
Yeah, and not and we'll get there later. Not like an MJF, he's on every week in the background, and maybe even put it Tony Khan has him booked, and MVP's dude, have you seen what he's been doing? Who is that guy? He ain't wrestling him. Nah.
And again, people will complain oh, you're making whoever look bad, whoever his opponents are, by saying it. But that's the point of the problem with wrestling today. Not just AEW, WWE has had this problem as well. Is this sounds bad, but not everybody is the same.
True.
In wrestling, right?
True.
It's the same in any sport, right? When you're watching, we're hockey fans, and when you're watching a hockey game, you're not they don't put Sidney Crosby on the same level as a guy who's played 10 games and played most of his career in the AHL. You're not these two are equals. No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And wrestlers should know that. Hockey players know that. Sometimes you're on the first line and you're a guy who's always on the first line. And then sometimes you bounce back and forth between the minors and the NHL. And that's your job.
Yeah.
There's not a guy who's, 25, 30 years old, a career fourth liner who's suddenly well, why am I not getting 25 minutes a game? No, you know. Right. And that's not to say your role is not important. It's just a different role.
Exactly.
And
yes.
So if MVP's oh, he's not going to wrestle, Alex Reynolds tonight, that's not a shot at him as much it is, he's more famous and he's higher up on the card. That's how wrestling works. The problem with wrestling in modern times is they treat everyone equally. And that kind of doesn't let there be stars. Some people are stars and they should be pushed as stars.
Yeah, if you look back in the day, again, this isn't, this person that I'm gonna reference Hacksaw Jim Duggan here, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan has made a bajillion dollars running around and giving the thumbs up and yelling ho.
Yeah.
But he was never going to be Hulk Hogan, and we all knew that.
Right. But you cheered for him for what he was.
Exactly. And that's a great point. Back in the day, we didn't look at things again, to still line from The Rock here, we knew their role.
Yeah. It sounds bad, and I'm not saying
it does. Yeah,
I agree.
Saying
never let people succeed, right? when you watch WWF, you can reference WWF more because it's been around longer. You can watch WWF in the late 80s, and Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels were tag team guys who were further down the card, and Rocker Shawn Michaels in 1988 wasn't going to challenge Hulk Hogan. That wasn't happening. I'm not saying don't ever give him a chance, but just in 1988.
Yeah, at that moment.
That's not happening. In 1997, sure.
Yeah.
But that, give them opportunities to grow, give people opportunities to prove themselves and move up the card, of course.
Right. Well,
but you don't have to present everyone as the same.
Exactly. And like you just said, you referenced the Hitman, people don't realize Brett was around his late 20s when he was part of the Hart Foundation.
Yeah.
He wasn't 19. That's
right.
the thing.
Yeah.
Bret Hart was not he wasn't a main event guy until he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
That's, people don't realize that.
And give people a chance to move up, give people opportunities to grow, of course. I'm not saying don't. But I think that's the problem I have with a lot of AEW's matches, where all of them are 15 minutes long, when some of them don't need to be. Sometimes when it's a guy when it's Jon Moxley against someone who's hasn't been on TV for 6 weeks, like Moxley is winning that match, and Moxley should win that match, and we don't need to give the other guy equal offense every single time, because all you're doing is making Jon Moxley look less good when he should be the star. And yeah, give other people a chance. Like when that guy faces someone else, let him look good against somebody lower. That's why you have a pecking order on the card.
And that's why you have an announcer to be like someone like Jim Ross, to be like, oh, well, in the Moxley match, he learned, and that's why he was able to get this win. And you know, like, good call. Yeah. Like,
and build people up. Of course you have to, but you don't have to build them up all the time against everybody. Like Lashley should look special. People like Swerve should look special, or Hangman should look special. Danielson when he was a full-time guy. Yeah. Mox, like when Kenny Omega comes back, Kenny Omega's in the main event. And don't be like, oh, he has to work his way. No, he doesn't. He's Kenny Omega. Yeah. He can go in straight to the main event, and like that's how it works. Like,
right now, talking about getting a bump up in the card and everything. Kyle Fletcher cut the promo of the century.
It was good. Yeah,
that was so good.
I was annoyed at the crowd.
Well, I was just happy there weren't a lot of whats.
There was no. That's true. There wasn't very many whats. Which the what chant is the worst thing.
It's the absolute worst thing.
It's horrifying. It's horrible. I didn't like when I liked the booing, because that's a Don Callis thing, right? They were booing him like they booed on. I didn't like when they were like chanting "wrap it up" at him or something, because like he's given a good promo. Like you chant that at someone who's boring you.
Exactly.
But like his promo was good. Like
and him acknowledging that and then keep going made it better.
He did a great job. And like it made sense. It made sense of him being like, oh, everyone's always called me the next Will Ospreay. I don't want to be the next Will Ospreay. Yeah. Like that was great. It was a good promo.
Him looking directly into the camera, shaving his own head and screaming, "I am not Will Ospreay." Was the most amazing thing that I've ever seen on television.
It was great. And how good were those clippers that they just went right through his hair?
The first thing I thought of was like, oh, that ain't cutting his hair. Literally, as soon as Don
gets stuck and like cut like a tiny amount. Like, no, those are good clippers. They went right through it.
Yeah. And the other thing that I did notice, and the internet hasn't told us this yet, I did notice he had a wedding band on his finger. Did him and Sky Blue tie the knot?
I didn't even notice that. Maybe.
I just noticed it this week.
I don't know.
Because the first thing I thought of was like, oh wait, did they flip the image? Because I thought like it was his right hand. Right. And I was like, why would they do that for this promo? Like I was like, okay, he has a wedding ring on.
But I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be great. Yes. Kyle Fletcher has like obviously always been a good wrestler. When he had that match against MJF, I remember thinking like, oh, he's going to be a star, because that match was great. And him and Will Ospreay are going to kill it.
Oh yeah. Well, I wrote down in my notes that your whatever date that was that I didn't write down, that was the date that Kyle Fletcher became a star.
Yeah. And again, this is where you talk about levels, right? Like Kyle Fletcher is not at Will Ospreay's level right now, and that's fine. But the goal of this feud is to put him at Will Ospreay's level.
Right.
Ooh, and it's going to work because he's great in the ring. I'm sure Will Ospreay's like, sometimes you're not willing to put someone over, but I'm sure Will Ospreay's willing to put him over.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, the Don Callis family is working for me now. They're doing a good job.
It went 180. The fact that they made a trade, how did we not talk about this? Genius.
Yeah.
Like, that has never well, I mean, it's probably happened, but like
the only time I think you weren't on that week when it happened. I remember talking to Jay about this. The only time I remember something like that happening, I think like in the 80s, I remember like Slick and Bobby Heenan or something.
Oh yeah.
Somebody. That's the only time I remember it happening.
Yeah, you're right. You're very correct on that. But yeah, the fact that they did that and like did it kind of like under the radar, like,
and it took up a loose end because remember Don Callis approached Roosh like a month ago.
Yeah,
and then they never talked about it again. I remember thinking like, oh, what happened with him and Roosh? And like, oh, he's been traded. That's where it went. Okay, that makes sense.
Done really well. And all of a sudden, almost said Brian Cage. Brian Cage, he was the big trade. He was the big guy in that deal, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think he's higher on the card than Lance Archer. But I think this is a good place for Lance Archer.
Yeah, and I think they kind of have a feel to me like a 80s tag team, like a Road Warriors or Demolition type tag team.
That's what I was just gonna say. They have it.
It's gonna be fun.
It is. Real quick, where do you think after this is all said and done, where does this solidify Fletcher as like does Ospreay move up and Fletcher kind of take his spot?
I would think
like
so.
The international title.
You can only keep Ospreay out of like the main event for so long.
Because at this point, yes.
Yeah, because he's already competed for the world title, but like he's been a main event guy since he walked in, sort of.
Yeah.
So him being in the international title range, like it was good, but he has to move up to the world title, and I can see Kyle Fletcher taking that spot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, he said before, AEW is weird because they have so many belts, but they haven't really established, like, the international title now has been kind of pumped up a lot, right? By Orange Cassidy winning it and Will Ospreay winning it, and MJF had it for a while. Like, it's the clear, like, second belt after the world title now. But is it now too high that it's not a mid-card belt anymore? And then is that the TNT title? But that's...
Yes. See, I think they got it finally how they want it. The TNT title is your mid-card title. The international title is your stepping stone, and then the world title.
And I think the Continental title has to just be like, I'd be fine with that only being in the Continental Classic, and like the rest of the year, you kind of forget about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that title at any time can change hands, but it should mean something only in that tournament. Like, say, if you're the champion entering the tournament, say you get an extra loss. You know what I mean? Like, your first loss doesn't count against you.
Yeah, or they give you
just because you're the champion.
Yeah,
or you start out with an extra point or something. Like, make it so like the title itself matters, but only kind of during the tournament. I'd be okay with that.
Then the tournament could also, like, they don't even have to. Yeah, it could be like King of the Ring sort of. But you remember, recently King of the Ring was like, if you win King of the Ring, you get a world title shot. And I liked it better when they didn't have that, where like,
and it was like a separate thing.
Yeah, winning that was just a thing on its own. You win the Continental title, it's like, it's important enough on its own that's why you want to be in it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, make the world title the world title, then the international title is like just underneath that. Like, you're not quite world title, but you're close.
Right.
Then TNT titles like the mid card title, and the Continental is just kind of a thing.
Yeah, and that title were like I said, something for that tournament. Make it specific. Make it have a consequence that people want it.
Yeah,
it like you said, get a bonus point, or
in of itself, it's like so important that they want it just to have it.
To have it, and then you want it going into the tournament.
You want to be able to hold it for the whole year so that you get that advantage next year. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Now, that being said, we did learn something from a Mark Briscoe interview. Thanksgiving Eve, the C2 year 2 starts.
I'm excited. I loved the C2 last year.
Oh, the C2 is great. Just a off-topic question. Would you like them to do like maybe even just like, I don't want to say like an internet only thing, but like, remember how like WWE would do like the who was like number 30 or who got number 1 on Royal Rumble?
Yeah,
like they would, like, I wonder if they're going to do like a whole, I don't want to say a whole show, like maybe a whole segment,
like qualifying matches or something to get into it.
Yeah, that's what there you go. Like, I was going to say a whole show.
To determine what league you're in.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be sick if they had like a collision bracket and a dynamite bracket.
And they should make you qualify for it. Like, how many people were in it last year? I don't remember now.
12, right?
12. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put 24 guys at the start, and they all have to qualify.
Oh
for the
yeah.
champion. So 23 guys. Like that could be the champion doesn't have to qualify.
Doesn't have
he's
to.
He's
champion's
automatically
in. Yeah.
And everybody else has to qualify. Yeah, stretch that out. Like that was a great tournament. I loved it. So do that.
Then you could have something like, going into this time of the year, like of course, like the champion want to like, his belt becomes like the hot commodity. So like, no, I'm not wrestling next week. Well, no, yes, you are
trying to get it because they want to end up in the tournament. Yeah,
and he wants his bye.
That
was awesome.
I'm excited. I love the C2, and this year I think it's gonna be even better. There's gonna be so many. I hope they do what they did last year, where they put in Moxley and Danielson, people like of that caliber. I hope it's like some upper mid card guys, but I hope they put in Will Ospreay or put in Swerve or someone who's like a main event guy, Hangman.
Oh yeah,
just to like pump it up more because it's fun. The C2 is really cool, and
it is.
I have the ability to add single digit numbers, so it's not confusing for me.
Yes, how people are confused is beyond me.
Can you add 2 to 2? Can you do that?
No. Do we get a women's C2?
I hope so. I also hope that we would get a women's Blood and Guts. So I really hope so because there's so many good women's wrestlers, and they don't get like they get more than they used to get, but they still don't get enough. I think.
Yeah.
There's still only one match a night.
Well, that's what I said. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. It is a little off topic, but we started early, so not that matters because this is recorded. So it made 0 sense for me to say that we started early.
That's dumb.
Yeah. This is just me talking, but I'm going to say within the next 2 years we get an all women's brand from AEW.
Yeah, I would hope so, or at least like an all women's pay-per-view maybe, or like at least the women main eventing a pay-per-view, because
that's definitely
there's so much.
I mean, yeah, there's I don't want to say a brand because I don't want them to be like, oh, there's AEW, Ring of Honor, and then something else, but
yeah,
they're going to do something where the women are involved way more. So, maybe every, like how Ring of Honor used to do a random Women of Honor show. And then the random show became like once every 2 months, like, I think they're going to start to do something like that where like there'll be a special, every so many weeks, a special Dynamite and Collision just dedicated to the women.
Because I know the argument is always, oh, women don't get ratings, so we can't do a whole show of them because it won't do well in the ratings. But they don't
matter now.
They don't do well in the ratings because you don't put them on TV enough, right? Like it's a kind of
right.
Like, yeah, you can't build them up because they're not on TV enough. So of course they're not going to draw ratings because you never built them up.
So there's that. Yeah, exactly.
Especially if they end up on Max, like then the ratings don't really matter that much.
Right.
So yeah, put it on. If it tanks in the ratings the first week, do it again later. And if it like it'll build itself up. Like it'll grow over time. So yeah, go ahead. Like that would make perfect sense. A women's C2 I would love to see. I don't know if they'll do it, but it would be incredible.
I agree. Moving along here, we have the Adam Cole, the Undisputed Kingdom, and MJF. It's kind of a jambalaya right now.
When MJF came back and beat up Adam Cole, remember his first day?
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, oh, they did that just to end the feud.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to tie up the loose end, but they didn't want it. Good. They should have just done that.
That should have ended right there. I agree.
I get Adam Cole came back and they wanted to use him. Sure. I get that people wanted to cheer for him. So of course now he gets to be the face, but none of this makes any sense. And I don't care.
And I have a thinly veiled theory on how this could be saved.
All right.
First and foremost, I want to say I love MJF. MJF is great, but him doing the same thing of, oh, you're not going to see me, I'm not going to be on TV till like that's old hat. I don't.
And he's doing what I hate with the Bucks. I hate when the Bucks do it too, like the wink and a nod. Like, I remember, I'm never on TV. Shut up. Like, no, it's annoying. I don't like it.
Exactly. It goes back to what we were talking about with the Max Caster stuff too. Like, again, you do the same thing over and over again. It doesn't even make me mad anymore. It was just like, oh yeah, I saw that coming. That's
the thing that you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. First off, you got to change that. Now, here's where this whole angle gets saved, and they're gonna pull Max into not wrestling into this. They're gonna Cole and Roddy between them are not gonna. Nobody's gonna be able to win 3 in a row. So it's gonna become a compelling TV between them to get the third, like 3 in a row between them.
Right.
So
that is obviously between the two of them, Adam Cole and Roderick.
That's where we're going eventually. Yeah. But nobody's going to be able to win the third, and I think Max is going to get jealous because they're getting TV time, and they're like, "You guys are drawing it out. You're taking it away from me."
Okay,
and like they're going to make it like it's going to be like a TV. Like Max is going to realize that being on TV is actually a good thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
That's how I think they're gonna, quote unquote, put the sports entertainment thing in. That's how they're gonna pull Max into a feud that he doesn't have to wrestle in. But Roddy and Cole are gonna give you match after match after match, and again, eventually it's gonna be them two, but
against each other, yeah,
against each other. But nobody's gonna be able to win that third, and it's gonna make Max mad. Because they're getting all this hubbub and like, oh, we got, or like, it'll turn into what? Meltzer gave me.
At least that's different than what he's doing now. Yeah, Max is like, he's super. All these guys are super talented, like they are.
Yeah,
and I like all of them, but I don't like this feud. I don't like this angle. You're right. Max he's been boring since he's came back. Like he's just like not boring. Like his promos are still good.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's all good, but yeah, it's the same. It's old hat.
It's just the same thing. And then like Adam, this is just so confusing. Adam Cole came out. Well, first of all, MJF when he came back beat up Adam Cole was like that's done. Then it wasn't done. Adam Cole came back, so sure it continues. Yeah. But then Adam Cole 2 weeks ago or last week was just like, I'm sorry, Roddy, I love you, but I'm gonna do this on my own. Okay. And then Roderick Strong comes out and was like, why don't we do this together? And Adam Cole just like, okay. Like, didn't you just say you want to do this? How did he immediately go, okay, yeah, sure, we're friends. Like, of course. Like, you just said a week ago that you want to do this on your own. And now you're just like, actually, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do it with you. Like, it's...
And then the whole segment ends with Kyle O'Reilly watching this, like, so, you're going to do the thing that you were going to do, like, 6 months ago.
Yeah, when Adam Cole got hurt, that sucked. But like, pivot, do something else. Like, don't just try to stretch this out for another 6 months. And like, Adam Cole wasn't there for a year. How come the Undisputed Kingdom didn't go after MJF at any point?
True.
And MJF didn't care about them. MJF came back and he wasn't like, I'm gonna take out Roderick Strong because he was part of that. Like, he didn't care. So. Then suddenly now they all care again? Like, why?
I will say, whenever Roderick Strong came out during the promo, and I was like just saying to myself, I was like, please reference being your best friend, please. And he was like, Adam, me is your best friend. And I was like, yes, he tied it all together.
See, but like, it's funny, and him coming out doing the Adam thing,
that I loved it.
It was funny, but it really is like they just pressed pause a year ago and then played it, but like, no, like you can't just do that. Like, that's not how things work, right? Like, it's if they had both been gone this whole time, like if Adam Cole and Roderick Strong and MJF were all gone for whatever reason and then came back and restarted it, sure, but that's not what happened. Like, Roderick Strong has been there the whole time. MJF has been back for months, and now they're just like, hey, remember that feud from a year ago? That when it happened a year ago, by this point, was kind of confusing already. And they're just making it more like, I don't know. They should have just dropped it. They should have had Adam Cole come back and like go onto a feud with someone else and just quietly tell off MJF, or have MJF throw in one line in a promo, be like, I see Adam Cole's back, hate that guy, and that's it. And they wouldn't have had to have them do all this.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I hope something comes out of it because they're all talented people and they're all good wrestlers.
Something
and they're all like,
will,
but like it's not good. It was one of the worst things on this show, which is weird because they're all good. But like, yeah, and MJF's being like, I'm gonna. That's the other thing. I don't know if you ever watched How I Met Your Mother. Did you watch How I Met Your Mother?
No, I have not.
Okay, I'm going to spoil How I Met Your Mother for everyone. Okay. So it's a 10-year-old TV show.
I was just going to say, it's been off the air for a while, so you're good.
Yeah, I'm allowed to spoil it now. If for some reason you don't want me spoiling this 10-year-old TV show, skip ahead a little bit. But anyway, How I Met Your Mother, the whole point was like how the characters grew over like the 10 years. Right. And how they changed and grew and like their relationships changed and they learned to become better people or whatever. And then the last season, they were like, oh, the mother's dead and they're all back together again. And now he's in love with this person he was in love with in season 1. And the other character is just back to being a womanizer. And like they just like reset it all back to where it was before. And everyone hated that. It was universally hated. Right. Like that's what this storyline feels like. They had MJF had like that year of character development where he like learn to trust people and be friends with someone and that not everyone else is out to get him. And he developed as a character. And then Adam Cole turned on him and they were both gone for a year. And now it's like, they're just back where they were 2 years ago, where MJF is just MJF and Adam Cole. Like there's no development.
That's true.
They're exactly the same place. But they went through all that character development over like a year period. And then we're just like, we're going to go back to MJF being the guy who doesn't show up on TV. And Adam Cole's going to be Adam Cole, baby, with the Undisputed Kingdom. And we're just going to forget that any of that happened. I don't know. It's weird.
It is.
They could do better. Like, they could do better.
And they might, but I agree with you. Like, it's definitely off on the wrong foot. Like, what isn't off on the wrong foot is the Camille, Mercedes, and Kris Statlander. Well, it's not all three of them feud, but it's Camille and Mercedes.
They're involved,
And
Chris, it kind of is a similar thing though, because they built up Statlander as a heel that she like turned on Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends.
Yeah.
And she turned on Willow and she turned on everyone she cared about. And they should have just had her turn on Stokely. And then but now kind of just seems like they built up her character as someone who, you know, turns on her friends and is only out for herself, and then suddenly she's just a face. Like it's weird.
Good call. Yeah. Like I never really like.
And I get why they did it, because all the women's champions are heels and they need a face to go again. I get it, but they could have explained it a little bit better that actually she's good now, and that was it. Like,
well, yeah. That would have solved a lot of problems.
They could have had her turn on Stokely, and then people are just like people would have naturally started cheering for her just because she turned on Stokely.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't have felt so abrupt.
Yeah. That was the thing. It was definitely like a on-off switch. It was like she was, a heel that, people, not everybody hated, but a majority of people didn't like. And now all of a sudden it's like she's universally loved. Yeah.
Right. And they haven't really explained why that ever happened. Like the feud is good. All of these people are talented. The feud is good. I like how they're building it up slowly and they're not having Statlander just go right up against Mercedes, because like just from a physical standpoint, Statlander looks like she could crush her. So they have to make it more difficult. They have to put some roadblocks in her way. And Camille's a good roadblock. And I like that they're probably going to have Statlander face off against her for a while first before she gets to Mercedes. Like, I like that all. It's just, it's weird that she beat up her best friend and then the next week she's like, yeah, everyone loves me. Like it was.
Yeah. Camille versus Queen Aminata was the match of the night, by the way.
Yeah, Queen Aminata is good.
Oh, the Queen slays.
They have to do something else with the women because there's so many of them now. But there's only 2 belts, so like, if you're not in a title match or title feud, you're kind of not anywhere. But yeah, what do they do with like the Queen Aminatas who are really good, or Thunder Rosa when she's cleared? I think she is cleared. They're not in title feuds, but they should still be on TV because they're. I
agree.
Do we need women's tag titles? We've talked about this before.
I mean, it looks like it because that's just a natural way to get more people on TV. But I think I think it has to happen, honestly.
Because like Queen Minaj is great, but like she's not going to go over Mercedes or Mariah May. But then what is she going to do?
Right. Yeah, and it's like there really are only like the two. Well, obviously there are only the two belts, but it's like there's in the women's division there's mid card, champion, and everybody else. It's like if you're not one of the two, you're kind of just in the pool of whoever.
And you're not on TV.
Yeah, and
you're on every so often. You're on every few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of.
The match was good. I mean, it was Camille's best match for sure.
Agreed.
Queen Aminata had a really good match last week with Mercedes too, so she's doing great.
Yeah.
Build up have a team. Have it be put her in a team against Camille. Like have Stat and Queen Aminata as a team against Mercedes and Camille. That would be fun.
Yeah, well, maybe that's where they're leaning, and we just maybe you just called something.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
I'd love them to draw this out because Statlander should crush Mercedes when they finally have a one-on-one match. But draw it out, have her face Camille first, and then Mercedes be like, okay, well, you beat her, but can you beat both of us? Find a partner, and then have them do that for a while, and then.
That'd be super cool. I'm down.
I like everyone involved, so that'll be good.
Same. Hook versus the entire patriarchy. We learned that the patriarchy attacked Taz.
Yes.
Christian told us that. Well, I forget what his exact words were, but it was like
part of it you couldn't hear, and then I forget what the rest of it was. Yeah.
Yeah, something like you don't understand why yet, or something like. In other words, keep watching our show.
Right.
I'm happy for Kip Sabian. I
am too. I like this.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
I've always liked Kip Sabian. I thought he was a cool character, and I thought he wasn't on TV enough. So that'll be him and Christian will do well together.
They'll do very well together.
I really liked the look on his face when he helped Christian, and Christian kind of looked at him like, "Oh, you're useful."
Yes.
And then Kip Sabian's look was like, "Oh, you're accepting me?" Like it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Go stand over there. I'll talk to you later." That was. It was really good.
The best when he was like, "Go to the corner."
Go to the corner. Because he's the dad.
Yeah. And it was like Kip Sabian's just like, okay, like you just told another grown man to walk to a spot, and he did.
I like adding Kip Sabian to this. It's fun.
It is.
Now, does Hook get anyone on his side?
See, this is where this is just me. He needs to get like Tommy Dreamer because the place would go absolutely bananas.
That would be fun. He's like avenging Taz. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Any of the old.
We did see a little bit of a possible tease because Powerhouse Hobbs tweeted a GIF.
Yes.
GIF, Biddy. It's GIF.
It is.
Of
it is GIF.
Of him and Hook and Ricky Starks.
Yes. Which
now is that just him doing that, or is that a thing?
I don't know.
Does Ricky Starks still even work here? Like,
see, yeah. Again, that's another thing. Like everyone assumes that Ricky's on his way out. I'm with the people that feel that way. So I don't know why I'm making a counterpoint here, but like this could also just all been part of the plan. Like I hate to say that and be like the conspiracy theory person, but
and Punk and the Elite are going to have that match together any minute now.
Right, exactly. That's why that's not going to happen. But why would you pay somebody to sit at home? Like,
see, what I've heard is because they were talking about it with Ray Phoenix too, that Penta's free to go, but he's adding on time for Ray Phoenix, which I've torn feelings about. I have mixed feelings about this. I get keeping people to their contracts to an extent, but like have them wrestle then. If he's presented Ricky Starks like 50 different ideas and Ricky Starks has said no to everyone, okay, fine, then stay at home.
Yeah.
Right. But like Ray Phoenix, if he has to be under contract for 9 more months or whatever it is, like have him wrestle, have him lose if you don't want him to look good, but
true,
have him wrestle. Like I what I've heard is Tony Khan's thinking if someone wants to go to WWE, he's not going to use them. He's going to just have them sit out their contract, which I don't know. Because yes, you're still getting paid. Yes, you could still work indie dates. So I guess that's okay. But like why would you pay people to do nothing? You don't have to put them over. Is he worried Ricky Starks is going to get super over and then go to WWE? Well, then just pay him more money to stay. Like,
or there's that, and then there's the aspect of like trying to, like, the nice way to put it, like kind of like well then F you, like that's the way I see it. Like,
yeah.
But then again, Tony Khan is a boss, like, and a contract does have to mean something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I see both sides of the coin.
I see both sides on it, but like when WWE does it, I think it sucks. So
yeah,
when AEW does it, I kind of also have to think it sucks.
Yeah.
But I get that your contracts have to mean something. You can't sign a 5-year contract and then 6 months in be like, I don't actually want to do this, and just like, I get that.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, like, I'm sure these guys, if these guys want to wrestle, like, I don't know Ricky Starks, maybe he's perfectly happy doing nothing. Like, I don't know. But if these guys want to wrestle and you have them under contract, just have them wrestle. Have them wrestle in ROH if you want, so they don't like mess up your TV show or whatever. But like, yeah, why would you not use them in some capacity? And like, if they get super over and leave, oh well, like that's gonna happen sometimes. Like sometimes someone
exactly.
This happened in, again, NHL all the time. Right? A guy's a free agent heading into the playoffs, and he's a good player, and he's going to help your team possibly win the cup, but his contract's also up. Do you trade him at the trade deadline so that you get something for him, or do you risk him walking away for nothing, but you have a better shot at the cup that way? Like, you take that chance sometimes that you have a Marian Hossa in 2008, and he's going to leave, but can he get you to the Stanley Cup final? Yes. So take that risk. And like, he walked out afterwards. That's going to happen sometimes. Tony Khan knows that. He knows sports. Like, sometimes that's going to happen. Like, I mean, Cody and CM Punk, who are two of their biggest names, left. Obviously in different circumstances, but they both left and became big in WWE. And like, AEW is fine. So like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I hate it, but like, I also see it. It's
and I could see it if it's a month or two, right? Like, I can understand.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't want Ricky Starks to like have a great match on Dynamite and then his contract runs out and the next week he's on Raw.
Right.
I get that for sure, but like, if it's a year, use him for 6 months and then bench him, right? Like,
yeah. Like, there's ways around looking like an ass, to put it lightly.
Yeah, so back to Hook. It would be great if it was Team Taz, if like they reunited, if they reunited to defend Taz because Taz got attacked. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Oh, I'm down.
Or if not Ricky and Hobbs, just Hobbs. That'd be fun too.
Yeah. Something needs to happen with that, and obviously Hook needs someone, and I hope, selfishly, I hope he gets the band back together and we see Ricky Starks, because we haven't seen him since Adam Copeland told him he was The Rock. So
that was so weird.
It was
because apparently they both got upset about that. That I think he made fun of Adam Copeland. I forget what he said now. And then Adam Copeland shot back with the "You're a wannabe Rock" or whatever, and like they were both really offended. Like, those aren't even bad insults. Like,
yeah, like you're a carbon copy of the most successul wrestler of the past 20 years.
I think you made fun of Adam Copeland's teeth or something. Like, why are like really? You're gonna get mad about that? Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Moving along to the BCC Elite AEW Orange Cassidy angle. It's getting a little convoluted.
Yes. I like what they're doing with Orange. I'd have to say.
I agreed. I agree.
Where he's like, they wanted to be their savior, and he's like, I don't know if I can. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, I like that.
Yeah, they're kind of making this also like must-watch TV. It's that they're just giving you a tidbit here, tidbit there. You really don't know why Mox. Well, not really don't. You have absolutely no idea why Mox is doing this yet. And
how long will you think it's going to be okay for him to not answer? Because he eventually has to say something.
I will give them into Full Gear's next pay-per-view. If we don't know by the end of that pay-per-view, like any time between now and the end of that pay-per-view is like what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'd say that's fine. Because
but
you go any longer than that, and then you're just like, do you actually have an answer, or are you just like,
yeah? If we watch all of Full Gear and we still at this same point here, I'll be like, well, no, that's way too long.
They need to explain it by then. They also, I think, maybe I like what they're doing with Orange. I'm assuming Darby's going to come back one time eventually. I hope he comes back as kind of Sting-ish, because that would be incredible.
When you said that last week, that was a great call. That needs to happen.
I hope that happens, but I think the faces need more people, like better people. No offense, but like the people they're going, like Private Party's fine. They kind of hype them up a little bit. Daniel Garcia is fine, right? They make sense. They're not like main event guys, but they're up and coming guys. They make sense. But again, I feel like I always like knock on Dark Order, and I'm not. Like they know their role. Like they have a role. They do. Like they're good wrestlers. They're entertaining guys. They're funny, but like they're not main event guys, and they would be the first ones to tell you they're not main event guys. It's weird that like Orange is good, Danny Garcia is good, Private Party's good, and then the rest of them are just like guys who are never on TV. Like
that is true.
Like they're not gonna beat. They couldn't have beat the old BCC before they went nuts and started murdering people. Like they're not gonna beat the current beast. Like that's not happening. Like they have to put someone in there who kind of evens things up, because I've said a lot for a long time, and it's still true now, even though he's a better character. I think Mox is overpowered. Like I don't think there's Mox very many people in AEW who can conceivably beat Mox, and that's kind of boring after a while. So they need to put someone on the AEW side who's like, oh, now he kind of evened things out. Like the NWO Sting thing. Like the NWO ran through, but see, the NWO ran through big names. The NWO ran through, Randy Savage, and at first the Giant, and they were facing Sting, they were facing Lex Luger, and then DDP rose up against them, and I think he was bringing himself up as a character, but like they were going up against big guys, and I get why they're not going against Swerve and whoever now. I get it, but I think eventually, like if you're, it's weird that like Mox and them are going through and terrorizing the show and murdering people, and like only the Dark Order cares. Like why does no one else? Why does no one else care? It's weird, but I like it. Like it is good TV. Like I feel like I'm knocking it, and I'm not. Like it's good TV. It's entertaining. I want to see what happens next. I just think what happens next has to be good.
I agree, and I still want to know what Marina's key is for.
Yeah.
And I'm still not totally convinced that the belt is in that briefcase.
Yeah, they haven't, like, they just guessed that it is. I don't know if it actually is. I do think the face side needs a woman too, like someone like, I was thinking Willow or something. Because because Marina just goes through and destroys people, but there's no one to go against her, really, right? Like no one's.
Yeah, that's true.
They need someone to go against her. Willow would work.
As soon as you said that, I was trying to think. Willow would be solid.
But I like it. I think it's been good. I'm
just gonna say it's a fun angle.
And I like what they're doing with the Elite, where they're like not trying to stop them, and people are kind of wondering why. Why do you think they're not trying to stop them?
I mean, obviously, I think they're involved. But as to how, I don't know, because it's not going to be as simple as like, oh, well, they hired them. Like it's going to be there's more to this than we know. Yeah,
I have a couple theories. One is the Elite don't care about AEW and care about characters. The Elite don't care about AEW and don't care what happens to it. They want it to make themselves look good. But now that it's hard work, they're just like, oh, we don't actually have to do this. Like that's my first, that's my first thought. Is that what they're doing? That's what they're doing. My second thought is someone pointed this out online. Remember when Mox said to Jack Perry, like, you've always been a good kid, and like tapped him on the shoulder or whatever, like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Is Jack Perry working with Mox to like screw over the rest of the Elite?
Oh. That would be awesome.
And like that's why he's telling them, don't bother right now because it's not time to fight them yet. But he's in on it.
Oh, and then you could have him like hug the Bucks and do the smile into the camera thing. Go over to Moxley. Oh, that'd be incredible. Wow. Yeah. I never even thought of that.
There has to be a payoff for this because I was thinking the EVP Elite thing kind of failed, right? Like as an angle. It did.
Yes.
But when it first happened, when they first attacked Tony Khan, not only was that cool and entertaining and interesting and you want to know what happened, but it was like the worst thing anyone in AEW has ever done. No one thought that like you'd be no one thought anyone would like hospitalize Tony Khan. Like that's horrible. Right. And they never really got what was coming to them after that. Like they kind of did. Like Darby kind of got one over on them, but not really. Right. Like they never really got like beaten or humbled, or they never really paid for what they did. And now kind of see, like, I hope it's not just the BCC or whatever they're called now goes after the Bucks next and like just fights them, because then it's like the Bucks did the worst thing you could possibly do and got over his heels and then just got beaten by even meaner heels. Like,
yeah,
the goal of this should be to elevate a face, like someone who rises up and puts a stop to this. I think it's going to be Darby, but I hope the Bucks kind of get what's coming to them at some point, because I mean, in character, they deserve it. They've been awful people, and they should get something.
I think Private Party beats them.
I hope Private Party beats them.
Yeah,
because not only do I, I'm not a huge fan of the Bucks,
correct,
and this title reign hasn't been great.
Agreed.
But the tag division is kind of weak right now, and I hope they don't split up Private Party, especially because I think you think too they're going to split up the Acclaimed.
Yeah,
they can't split up another team. There's already so few teams.
That's true too. Yeah, I think, and the reason I think that the Acclaimed wins is when
Private Party wins.
Private Party. When Private Party got their shot against the Bucks, that all came about because not Mark Quinn, the other one, I can't think of his name.
Zay,
yeah. He made a highlight video and he posted on Twitter and he tagged the Bucks in it, and that's how they got their match on AEW. Right. Like literally from an internet post.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to make that like come full circle, like, because he always says that he shot his shot that night on Twitter. And if you notice, when he said, he was like, you know what, Mark, I'm just going to shoot my shot. And he said that when we'll break up. And that's what he always says when he made that Twitter post. He was like, that was Private Party shooting their shot. Yeah.
I like that. And they've done a good job at elevating Private Party. Like Private Party was nothing for a while, right? Like they had that whole thing with the Hardys and whatever, and then kind of did nothing after that. And they've kind of built them up pretty well. So yeah, that would make sense. I hope that they win.
Same. It's deserving. The tag titles have just been, since the Bucks won them, like you said, I mean, the reign has been boring in itself, but like, I mean, it's just been for, I don't know, maybe close to a year that the tag titles have kind of just been blah.
So why do you think this EVP thing didn't work? Because it started off good. But it very quickly stopped being good.
And again, no disrespect to them. I think it's the Bucks just not like wrestling. I mean, why they felt that they needed the titles, I don't. I mean, I do see they're not defended and you hate them even more. So like,
that's
I
the point of it.
Yeah,
but
but they could have done the same thing and just been ignorant executives.
Yeah, I don't even think they need to be executives. They could just be jerks. Like they're good at that. Like they're good at being like obnoxious on TV.
Oh yeah,
and just jerks. Like bringing here's the thing, that one of those videos that I talked about this week. It was it was with it was a What Culture video, I think, but they were talking about Wade Keller, something Wade Keller said, and what he thinks it is that, this sounds weird to me and I don't necessarily believe it, but this is what he says. Is that Wade Keller says that Tony Khan didn't want it to look like someone else was in charge of his show. So that's why the Bucks didn't get to have free reign over the show.
I mean, come on, Tony Khan's smart enough to know this is scripted television.
Yeah, it sounds really dumb.
Like, it sounds real dumb. Like,
I have trouble believing that, but that's the argument.
I don't buy that. That's
because I think the Bucks should have taken. Remember the first week after they did that, and then they had the Dynamite intro with only them in it.
Yeah,
that was fun. I hope that they would have had, when they were quote unquote taking over Dynamite, like it was just regular Dynamite. It wasn't. They didn't do anything different. I was hoping they would. I was hoping they'd like change the theme or like put themselves in every segment or like book weird matches like that you wouldn't normally see. Like, oh, the guys we don't like, Darby is going to be in a 10-on-1 match. Like,
right. Yeah,
but they didn't do any of that. I think that's why it fell apart. And then they threw in the Christopher Daniels thing, and he has equal power but not equal power. And like now Tony Khan's back, so why is Christopher Daniels even still here? And like, what do the Bucks' powers actually consist of? Like they made it so weird, and I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, I agree. It's too convoluted at this point.
Yeah. I think it can't just end with the BCC just like beating up the Bucks and that's it. Like there has to be something better, like a better ending than that.
Yeah, the payoff has to be like it has to be like next level good.
Yeah, and it can't just be like, oh, the Bucks didn't really care about AEW, and then the BCC beats them up, and then 2 months later the Bucks come back and are just faces. Like that.
Right.
Like that can't be what you do. Like it has to be better than that. I know like Kenny being injured screwed things up, but like that's like the MJF Adam Cole thing. If someone major is injured and your angle can't work, like if he's injured for a month, fine, wait.
Yeah.
But if he's going to be injured for 6 months or a year, like you have to do something else.
Yeah,
you can't just wait.
It's over at that point. Do you have any closing thoughts, my friend?
I want to make one. Yes. I mentioned it to you offline. I do sound like I'm like negative on AEW all the time, and I'm not. Like one thing I really hate is this argument that like if you're knocking AEW, people come and go like, oh, what? You don't want AEW to exist? You want WWE to be a monopoly? No, that's not what I want at all. I just want the show that I watch to be a good show, and it is a good show, but like it could be better, and I would like it to be better. Like I don't think that's weird.
And like any of us, we don't blindly follow. Right. Like just because we like it doesn't mean that it's 100% perfect. Like
right. And like I was saying to you earlier, this reminds me of WWF in like 97 or 98, where like that's some of my favorite years for wrestling. Like 1997 is like one of my favorite years for wrestling. They had like the Hart Foundation thing, and Austin was coming up, and The Rock was coming up, and Mankind, Mick Foley was like, it was cool, it was fun. But those years were also kind of messy, right? Like Bret Hart had a series of main event level matches against the Patriot, where did he come from? And why is he in the main event? Like that was odd. And like then in like 98, like the NWA invaded, and like Jeff Jarrett was winning NWA titles on WWE. Like it was weird. Like they were doing weird stuff. And eventually they figured it out and like stopped having weird random stuff happening but like parts of it were weird. Right. And that's what AEW feels like to me. Like I like the shows. Dynamite's a fun show. It's entertaining. I enjoy watching it. The pay-per-views are always incredible. And like they're like 90% good.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like weird stuff like the stuff with Adam Cole and MJF or the stuff with the Elite where I'm just like, you didn't have to make this weird and confusing. You could have just like, wrestling isn't hard, right? It's like there's a bad guy does bad stuff, then a good guy beats him and everyone's happy, and then you just continue that. Like that's wrestling.
Yeah.
Like it can be more confused, more complicated than that, but like you don't have to overcomplicate it. And sometimes it seems like AEW is overcomplicating things. Like they're throwing in, we didn't talk about Jericho because whatever, but like they're throwing in like now Ishii is here. Like why? What is that? Like it's weird.
Yeah, I actually even forgot about that.
It's they do weird stuff like randomly some person shows up and is just in main events and then drops off the face of the earth. Like I know what happens in wrestling. I know that happens.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like the shows are generally good, but AEW has a little bit of weird messiness to it where you're just like they didn't plan this properly, or they didn't think this through properly, or like the show feels odd. Like when you talked about when you went to Dynamite and the first segment was really good and then Jericho kind of ground everything to a halt.
Yeah.
Like there are segments where you're like, everything's great, everything's good. What the hell was that? That made no sense. I don't understand. And then you spend like 10 minutes being like So what was going on there?
Exactly.
I thought he was with him. Why is he with him now? What happened? And then it's back and it's fine again. But like there's like a weird, I don't know. They just have a couple like weird kinks to iron out. And like AEW's been better like since last year's Continental Classic. AEW's the quote unquote feeling whatever is back. I don't buy that. But like they definitely had a slump around all the brawl out nonsense and things got weird and confusing and odd, and I get it. And then they're back. Like the shows are good, but there's just a weird messiness to it that I don't think needs to be there, that I think isn't that hard to fix.
I agree with that.
And I think they can fix it. And I do, like I said before, like that for a while everyone had blind faith in Tony Khan, and then he kind of lost faith in Tony Khan, and now like the faith in Tony Khan is back, but just iron out some of the weird stuff, like fix the MJF stuff and fix the stuff with the EVPs, and like I don't know. I'm not down on AEW. I hate that feeling that you're like either you hate everything about it or you love everything about it. Like, and then the wrestlers make it worse because like Dax Harwood will come out and be like, if you hate AEW, you want me to be out of a job. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that angle that you were in didn't make sense. That's it. Like,
yeah. No, I agree with you. And I have faith that the MJF thing will come around, but there are, like you said, the little things that need ironed out.
Remember Preston Vance? He was a guy. What happened to him?
Yeah, it's like that whole thing was weird. They sent him to Mexico and he got over. And
they've kind of fixed it now with like having LFIs kind of back, but like it was weird because he was with LFI and then there was no LFI for a while, and then LFI was back. Like that was confusing. Like Andrade, I know he's gone now, but like he was the leader and then just disappeared. And was still on the shows, but like they just never mentioned him and Rush being together ever again.
I actually forgot Andrade left. Literally, he said that. It took me minutes. I was like, oh, I forgot about him.
But it's just a couple weird things. And then like it would be, and like no wrestling show is perfect. I'm sure if I watch WWE regularly, there's a bunch of weird stuff happening there too. And like stuff that gets dropped. Like they just have to, I think maybe they don't drop stuff enough. Like if something's not working,
there's also that. Yeah.
Drop it, but explain why you dropped it. Don't just like have Rush is gone now. Like spend literally 30 seconds to explain, oh, he got injured or he's back in Mexico or whatever. And then move on, and you don't have to I don't know what it is. I'm talking in circles now, but anyway.
It's all good. You're all good. Anyways, we are at Elite City Pod on all social media. We have a YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell.
Hopefully it posts properly. Last week's episode ended up on YouTube really late because YouTube had a weird glitch. So
yeah, that was weird.
Hopefully this one ends up on YouTube properly because that was an odd situation.
And I think that's it, huh? We
like, everything. Share, subscribe, all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Happy birthday.
Thank you everybody for all the birthday wishes, and I'm gonna go to bed now. It's been
an old man.
Because I'm an old man, and it's been a day. So, everybody, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. So until then, later.